if we're very stuck and very fixed, we're never going to open up to new realities, new frequencies, new ways of looking at the world, new technologies.
To begin to start playing with these frequencies and these energies that we once attributed to Jesus Christ, but at the end of the day, it's returning and available to all of us.
The fact that fear and excitement are effectively two sides of the same coin
carries so much potential for healing as well.
When we look out at the world right now, a lot of people, if they're honest, might actually answer that question with not a lot.
Energy and frequency is here to help us understand these changes.
There is a truth that sometimes our guides can step back when they know we've just got to really get it. You bring your guides in to help you, but as I say, you've got to do it for yourself.
Before today's transmission, I wanted to take a minute to let you in on something that could change your life. If you've been doing the inner work and still feel like you're walking this path alone, you're not the only one. Most spiritual spaces give you endless content to consume, but not a tribe to grow with. That's why we created The Deep Dive, a living spiritual ecosystem designed to help you grow in community, rhythm, and real embodiment. Right now, our members are embarking on a journey exploring a core spiritual and practical teaching through daily activations, live community gatherings guided by me and our facilitators, and also participating in sacred challenges that are designed to help you live your practice and bring it to life. You'll be surrounded by seekers and leaders who've decided that they're done doing this work in isolation. If you're ready to find your people, visit the link in the description or scan the QR code on screen right now, and I'll see you inside. Amanda, Ellis, welcome back on Just Tap In. What are you most excited about right now globally and in your life?
Thank you, Emilio, and thank you very much for having me back as well. Okay, shall we start with the personal, because it's probably easier to answer and it's quick. And in addition to obviously trying to improve myself and continue on my spiritual path, at a personal level, what I'm excited about is trying to get tickets to see Harry Styles at Wembley, which go on sale in a couple of days, and also booking a summer holiday, probably to France or maybe the Italian lakes. So yeah, that's what I'm excited about. Collectively, it's an interesting question, that, because I think when we look out at the world right now, a lot of people, if they're honest, might actually answer that question with not a lot. Because, hear me out, there are so many challenges and difficulties in the world right now, and it's very easy to maybe look through eyes of fear with regards to much that's going on. But if we actually think about the fact that fear and excitement are effectively two sides of the same coin, and I believe that actually the physiological response that we have in our body and the way that the brain processes both emotions is very similar. So I'm not saying we should be excited about what's going on right now and the difficulties, but what intrigues me is how we're going to get past the current challenges and to be able to see beyond the mess that we're in, I think, in certain areas. Not all areas, of course. There's a lot of beauty as well. So that's one answer for you. The other answer is that I am excited to witness some of the momentous changes that I think we are going through right now, linked into, for example, technology. I am old enough to have been born pre-computers, pre-mobile phones, went to school up to probably about the age of 17 without ever touching a computer or them being in existence. And when I look back, Emilio, I think that a lot of my generation, we sort of walked a little bit blind into much of the advancements, which have been good. But with the advent of, for example, AI, which is here whether we like it or not, I would like to be more conscious of actually the developments and what they're bringing to our world, what they're bringing to, for good, for bad, rather than just being what I feel is more maybe a passive observer in the past. And maybe that's just down to an age thing. I really don't know. But I look back at that huge advancement in the first part of my life of technology, and it's almost as though I just didn't really even, I mean, I had noticed it was happening, but the emotional side of it and the pluses and the minuses, I don't think I was really looking at that. So I want to sort of be more consciously aware now. Does that make sense? So, and I think that's quite exciting, actually, a lot of the stuff that, you know, we are now developing. So that would be my first answer to that.
Beautiful, beautiful, because we are uncovering, discovering, developing so many different things across all industries. And one thing I've heard you say before is that awakening and ascension is not just about discovering these things. It's about your response to having found them. And I know, for example, we were talking about, you know, this conversation with the architect and Robert Grant, and how we talked about Metatron's sword or blade, however we want to call it. And you said that you went through a remembrance when you heard that in the beginning. So what are these responses to discovering all these quote unquote new things that are coming up to the surface in humanity, and how that's ultimately leading us either back to a time in history of humanity, or also leading us to an evolution as well?
I think the most important thing is to view it a bit like a rolling wave, and to not get stuck in any one particular emotional state or response or reaction. To see growth, hopefully, with regards to anything that is occurring right now. If you take the example of the interview that you did with Robert recently, and he was talking about Metatron's blade, meta mode, I think it was, with regards to his AI model, my initial response to that was resistance, and to say, no, that can't be true. And that's because I've been working with Metatron consciously since 2005. So that was my first immediate response, which was probably based on maybe fear, or not wanting to go there, not wanting to expand, not wanting to evolve, to stay in comfort zone. And yeah, I sat with that for a little while and realized that I could soften that initial response. And when I did so, of course, I started to find out for myself new things about that particular conversation that you'd had. And I've got Metatron sort of literally, my ears starting to ring as soon as I'm talking to you now, because it's literally like new codes is what he's saying, new codes, new frequencies that we need to be able to expand our mind. If we're very stuck and very fixed, we're never going to open up to new realities, new frequencies, new ways of looking at the world, new technologies. So I've been banging on for a long time about trying to stay as open as possible. And it's like anything, you can say these things, but without actually trying to do it and to embody it, and then to have an example of where you have done it, we're just stuck, aren't we? So yeah, I think it's just seeing change as this evolving wave, really, and flowing with it as much as we can. Something that came to me the other day as well, this thing about being the wave, effectively, riding the wave, the importance of movement. And, you know, if we think about flow state, it is a fluid state, but yet sometimes we can be very static. I myself sit at a desk for many hours a day, too many. And I think the body needs to move in the same way that the mind needs to move. Our emotions need to move. The life force energy within us needs to move. So anything that we can do to just try to flow, to move, helps us to be able to expand our mind, but also helps us to be open to new discoveries. Doesn't just have to be AI, of course. The other big thing probably this year is maybe potential disclosure. I mean, I'm saying maybe. But again, having that big question mark in our mind even if we have an idea of how that might look and what we're expecting, the reality is, if it does happen in a big way that a lot of the collective see, it probably isn't going to be in the way that we are first imagining it. So just to try to stay as open as possible, and to want to keep learning as well, I think is very important, in the same way that hopefully we want to keep evolving on our spiritual path. And I think if we want to keep evolving on our spiritual path, then there should be almost like an open book, where we're wanting to read new pages, as it were.
Yeah. For me, ultimately, it's about being open to remembering the full aspects of myself.
Yes.
And self with a capital S.
Yes.
And there are many things that will come this year, as we'll talk about later in the conversation, that we are going to just remember. Just like when you first saw Metatron's sword, it was a remembrance to you, a code.
Yes.
And bringing up Metatron now, you've described him as having been part of the first divine spark, to have existed since time began. So that's quite a long time that he's been around.
Claim,
but if you would like to take us back to 2005, as you mentioned, when that connection started to establish and what was going on around in your life and how that energy of Metatron was able to come in and actually assist you with what you were going through and leading up to now, even what's it been? 20 years almost, or about 20
over
years.
20 years.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about Metatron, and I will talk about my own path with him, but I also teach people about his energy as well. So I observe other people's journeys with him too. And the one thing I've often noticed is that he's always been around you longer than you think. So when you consciously connect, that is one moment in time. And for me, it was 2005. But I know that actually the Metatron energy has been with me through many previous lives, and also right at the start of this one as well. But Metatron tends to come in when there are times of enormous change in our life, or we're going through a substantial shift. And for me, it was having children. So I had young babies and had a business career, was quite settled in that, and then it just started to not work anymore for all sorts of reasons. And I guess I was looking for something else, looking for something deeper, had always been interested in esoteric energies, and particularly angelic energies and colour energies. And the one thing about Metatron is that, yes, it's an angelic frequency, but it's very tied into lots of different flavors, he's saying, one of which is color, another is sound, another is sacred geometry. But for me, color was the entry point to Metatron. And I trained up in a color therapy system. I've since gone on to make my own, but it was color that was the main thing that drew me. And the color therapy system that I trained in initially had one archangel, one angel energy in it, and it was Metatron. And there was just something about it where I was just really, really intrigued. And then I went on to learn how to heal with Metatron's energy. And again, that was principally through the medium of color. And I will say to your listeners today that are watching us, Emilio, that I was really tuning into the green ray for this particular podcast. You might not be able to see it because just in terms of where the camera is at the moment, but I've got green plants beside me. I've got my malachite crystal. I was just really feeling the green ray. And in many ways, that's a beautiful illustration of the Metatron energy as well, even though he is about all the colours of the rainbow, because green is about expansion. It's about growth. If you think about nature, and it's about fertility and I just and healing, all sorts of things, of course. But I'm really just wanting to invoke the audience today in that green ray of healing, balance, harmony, and yes, growth. So for me, Metatron all the way through since 2005 has been this nudge in the back, kick up the backside, I sometimes say as well, to try to push me out of comfort zone, because like most people, we get stuck in what we know or what we like. I'm a Cancerian, so we're great at going sideways. We don't like going forwards a lot of the time. But the point about it all is pushing out of comfort zone, because there is an understanding at a higher level coming from him of what you've already signed up to do anyway in this lifetime, but also a meeting of an energy that understands that you can do it and that you have it within you. And whatever that is going to be different for everybody. But it's the Metatron energy is this energy which will try to pull out the best of you, your highest potential, and try to get you on track. Now, it's still your free will. You can still try to deviate or go down lots of dead ends, but it very much is an energy which is trying to help you fulfill what it is you came here to be. And for many people, I think, drawn to Metatron, it's often linked into some type of spiritual service, which doesn't have to be, being a podcaster or a healer or anything like that. It can be within your family group, that you are the pivot, you're the agent of change within your family that's going to help to break cycles of, abuse or patterns of destructive behavior, as well as be the one that's really shining the light very brightly in your family. And it might very well be that light that you're shining in your family or in your relationship is actually very different from siblings, parents, but do it anyway is what I want to say. So yes, it's just been this constant presence in my life, really. He has. And I say he, obviously the Metatron energy is a frequency. It's more than a frequency. Yes, he's a being. Yes, he's a frequency. And I don't know if you can see behind me, but there is a painting with angel wings behind me. And that's one way that he can appear. But I always say he can appear in many different ways, many different forms. It is basically pure light, pure love. And I would like to say on the record, as I've got this platform, because I often see the comments about Metatron that he's false light. No, he's not. The Metatron energy is just pure love that is trying to help, not hinder. There has never been a piece of advice that's come from him or any energy that has tried to seek to lower or do harm. So I really feel like I need to stand up for him sometimes,
No more bullying.
He gets a lot of flack, and he'll probably get flack in in the comments below this video. But those that have truly worked with him and walked with him can testify, and I think they often do. Not that it's about worshipping, because it's not about that with archangels, but it's just an appreciation for all they bring into our life and into the world. Because the Metatron frequency is about trying to help the ascension and the awakening of this planet. And so back to my point in terms of when does he come into people's life? Often he'll come into people's life when it's hitting the fan, things are difficult. But businesses have gone bust, relationships have fallen apart. Maybe there's an illness that's happened, all sorts of different challenging circumstances. And then sometimes people will sort of almost like blame Metatron because he happens to sort of come along at that moment. No, he's coming along at that moment because you need his energy to help you through the wake-up call, whether it's at an individual level or a collective level, on the world stage. So, but yeah, said to be the lesser Yahweh. So pretty high up. Hierarchies is a very earthly construct. Of course, they all work together. But he is said to be the one that sort of rules over the angelic kingdom and much more. So, and helping us with the shadow and the light that we have within ourselves.
Yeah. And I know Metatron has revealed to you that we're undergoing the birth of a new world. And really, Metatron's energy and frequency is here to help us understand these changes. And I love that we can go extremely esoteric around, the legend of Metatron and the stories, but really grounding it into understanding these shifts that are happening what has been communicated to you through him or through those energies of the angelic kingdom and through your own reception and channel around these changes that we're undergoing, especially this year almost seems to be very pivotal. Many people are repeating the same thing over and over. Around 2026 to 2030 seems like a time frame of accelerated change.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The first thing to say is that we get there. Just hang on there. If we're riding a wave, it's extremely choppy at the moment and difficult. But yes, the shift is happening. I talk about the energy of New Earth, the Golden Age. I'm sure many of your guests that come on do as well. But I always say that the time scale is quite elastic because it's dependent upon our actions and our thoughts and our behaviours with regards to the work that we're doing on ourselves, which reflects at a macro level the wider changes. In terms of things that he's showing me right now, Emilio, I'm not one to want to put fear into the equation because I'm all about trying to not do that. But I will say that I went to bed last night and had a dream, and it was the fourth or fifth dream that I've had of the same thing. And I have mentioned this in my predictions video for 2026 anyway, but it happened again last night. And it's a dream about tsunami. Now, you can interpret that many different ways. A tsunami wave can be a literal tsunami wave, but it can also be a tsunami wave of extraordinary change, but also emotion, and the heightened emotion. I think we're facing a mental health crisis in our world, which is already happening, which I think is only ramping up, unfortunately, with all of the awakening that is... When I say it's not helping matters, what I mean by that is if people haven't got a good understanding of why certain things are occurring right now, why old structures are falling away, why people that they maybe have looked up to are being exposed as maybe not of the light, it can be a very difficult ride. So, I keep being shown Mother Earth changes. And for whatever reason, I don't know whether it's because I am a Cancerian, so I am very watery and I live by the sea. But these dreams of tsunami feel very real and keep on coming. And I will say to you that last night's dream, I saw it. I saw the wave going out and then I saw it coming back to us. And it was coming to me as well. But what was interesting was that the people that were with me were older men. It was like, I feel it represented the old patriarchy, which for whatever reason, I like to think that I'm a light worker. We all are on this channel. Maybe I was just there to try to, steward them to wherever they're meant to be going on their own journeys. But there I am in this sort of wooden ship with a lot of older patriarchal type energies. And no, I can't identify any of them. I didn't recognize any of them. But this is the point. When the wave was coming towards us, there was part of me that was thinking, how long have we got? I had no fear whatsoever, but I was repeating the mantra to myself and to them, I am light. And then I woke up and I was just repeating over and over, I am light, I am light. There was no fear. So make of that what you will, whether it's literal. Hopefully there isn't going to be a big wave that, comes up my road, but I think it probably is about many different things. And I think it is just the wave of consciousness, Metatron's saying as well. Okay, so I'm hearing him say that now, because that makes sense also. Because if you think about these old figures, old patriarchal energies which need to leave our planet, it's like they're terrified, So would it not make sense that somebody of light is helping to steward them, to, as I say, wherever the dimensional frequency is that they're meant to be going into? I don't know. I don't think I'm the only one that's having these sort of dreams. So Earth changes, but over and above anything, I just know that we will be okay. I know that I have great faith in the generations that are already here, your generation, which is obviously younger than mine. What are you, Gen? What are you, Gen?
Gen Z, technically, to
You're
label
Gen Z.
it, but yeah.
Yeah, you're Gen Z. Yeah, I mean, I've also got Gen Z daughters, so, but also the even younger ones, you know, coming in as well. I've got great faith that we get there, but my concern for people is the ones that just don't understand maybe why these things are occurring, and chaos is never a nice thing to experience, and we are going through a period of absolute chaos right now. But we've just got to look for I'm being shown like a rock climbing wall. We've got to look for the next thing to sort of grab onto, basically. And more than anything, I'm a firm believer that if we really stay in our heart, I know this is where it sometimes sounds really new agey, but, you know, stay in our heart, because that's what I was doing in my dream. There was no fear. I was just in my heart. I am light. Doesn't matter if this big wave is coming. I am light. There is a safety and a protection that I feel is there for each person. And I think sovereignty is remembering your power to be able to not just survive, but to thrive through very difficult days. But I'm not wanting to paint a picture that it's all doom and gloom. There's absolute beauty out there as well. And I'm greatly encouraged, I think, by the advancement in general awareness of much that was more hidden even 20 years ago. You know, you're talking about 2005 when I first started with Metatron. I used to go and give talks, and, you know, how many people have heard of Metatron? There'd be like 2 hands going up, and it was like, what are you going on about? Or angels. It's like, yeah, don't talk about angels. Everyone will think you're nuts. Well, now it's just, well, in my world, you know, and I do have lots of very normal, grounded friends, you know, who aren't into the type of stuff that I'm doing. It's just, you know, it's commonplace. So that's encouraging, I think, as well.
And when it comes to this awareness that you're talking about that is increasing in certain areas, you know, now even more metaphysical concepts are bringing more light into the mainstream. When it comes to current events that are unfolding right now, and I know you really like to cover those on your channel, which is what we were talking about before off air. It's so special because it gives us a broader perspective of what happened, for example, with Venezuela and the United States and all these different current events. Where do you believe more awareness is being channeled to when it comes to what is playing out at the world stage right now?
Sorry, can you just clarify what you mean by that last bit? It's probably me being...
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So in terms of where do you feel we're becoming more aware of in current events that are unfolding? As you know, let me try it with an example, because what usually happens is a lot of these things are happened underground. There's a lot of government programs, there's a lot of things happening underground, but now there's more awareness, there's more interconnectivity than ever before. There's social media. Where are you seeing that also from a spiritual lens, and how we can begin to transmute when we hear about these events, whether it's a tsunami, whether it's a governmental issue? Where do you see that headed as well?
Yeah. Okay, I understand. I think the energy of what happens in any country, there is a reflection probably in our own, is key. And I think people are maybe starting to see that a little bit more, just because we literally can see it more because of social media in particular, but also wider media, that what happens over there does affect me. And actually, into that, I would almost like to bring the energy of protection sometimes, because I think as light workers, and certainly as empaths, we can take on too much of the world's problems and it can drain us. So it's about noticing what we're meant to notice. I mean, with Metatron as my guide, I will often talk about particular things that are going on in the world, not everything that's going on in the world, because obviously I wouldn't be able to do that. But he will just point my radar somewhere. But it's more to do with, yes, it might be about America or Australia or Canada or UK, but actually within whatever we're looking at, the viewer should be able to see a reflection that is also happening in their own country. Because ultimately we're all pretty much leading the same human existence. And I think that's becoming clearer, that people are starting to be able to see the interconnectivity a little bit more, or that would be my hope that they are. And I think they are. Also, some of the big issues of the day are just so blinking obvious, you know. So one of my things that I often talk about is the clamping down on freedom of speech. So, you know, I'm in the UK. There's been a lot of clamping down with regards to freedom of speech, particularly if you're on social media. But I think, you know, we can see that in other countries to lesser or greater extent. So hopefully a collective voice can arise to help the whole situation. Does that answer your question?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I love because it really points us to seeing whatever we're receiving as information from the external world, where in us is activating certain things and things that we need to perceive or see.
I mean, a current example at the moment, I haven't done a video on this and I probably won't, but as an example, there's a lot of stuff in the news about the Beckhams, you know, and obviously it's very sad because what's effectively happened is there's a fracture in the family relationship. You know, the son may be walking away. Now, you know, you could do a video on that, but it isn't really about the Beckhams. It's about the fact that that should be a reflection with regards to our own relationships with our families and where we've got fractures, where we might be irritated with our own mother or father, or have, I'm not saying this is about Brooklyn, by the way, but, you know, we should be able to see a reflection at play. So that's sort of how I look at stories a lot, you know, and it's one reason why, and I know a lot of people don't like me to cover the royal family because I know it can be contentious for some, but for me, it's the archetypal energy of some of the things that I've talked about over the years. I've just found interesting because it's almost like, now put that into your family setting, whether it's to do with, I don't know, infidelity, for example. Not that I'm saying I have been unfaithful because I haven't, but, you know, you get my point. Yeah. So, I think everything is a mirror, ultimately. And these big stories in the news, whether it is political, whether it is linked into celebrity or royalty or anything, there is a degree of reflection within us that usually we can see if we're tuned into it, including when we're triggered. You know, when we're triggered by the big players on the world stage, which we all are to a degree. You're not telling me most people aren't triggered by somebody on the world stage. Well, why? And, you know, the response will be, well, because they're doing this, they're doing that, they are blah, blah, blah. But my point would then be, okay, well, look at where you are maybe judgmental, or look at where you maybe are a bully or have bullying energies. And nobody likes to own that because they think, for example, a bully is the person who's in the playground, you know, flicking the girl's hair, whereas actually social media is rife with bullying. So people aren't necessarily, I don't think, seeing the consequences of their words, their actions, their behaviours and their frequencies that make up these, qualities that we judge in another. I mean, it's very Christ consciousness, isn't it? You know, take out the plank in your own eye before pointing out somebody else's flaws. So, yeah.
You brought up Christ consciousness, and I heard you say once that Christ consciousness is not about Christianity. It is actually a new template, or a template that is emerging right now, even more strongly than ever before. How can we begin to start tuning into that template and what it actually means in the large scope of things for what will be activated within the species, within ourselves, within others that are around us, to begin to start playing with these frequencies and these energies that we once attributed to Jesus Christ, but at the end of the day, it's returning and available to all of us.
Yes. I mean, if we went back to the start of this interview, what is one of the things that you're most excited about to see in the collective? Actually, I would also like to answer the return of Christ consciousness, or the opportunity for us to truly be able to embody it. Now, we've had 2,000 years to do that, and some of us, I think myself included, have had many lifetimes where we've done our best. And we have tried to model it. But if you look at the collective energy, I think if we're honest, I don't think we've really got it. I think we've got it at a mental level. We've understood some of the tenets of it. We understand what forgiveness means. We understand what, love thy neighbour means. But are we putting it into practice? And these are hard things to put into practice sometimes, particularly if we're triggered or we're coming up against unacceptable behaviour, for example. But I do believe we're going to be helped. And I do believe there are light codes that are coming in that are helping us.
From where?
From where? Very good question. Excuse me. To me, I'm very tapped into the energy of the sun and the moon. Well, all the planets really, but I just think light phenomena generally is on the rise. Even if you are not entirely convinced that the auroras that we're seeing in the sky and the northern lights are natural, I know some people don't think they are, but it's still colour in the sky. It's still colour in the sky. We had it in the UK a couple of days ago, the most beautiful colours. To me, that is wonderful. You can draw that beautiful fuchsia pink down and emerald green and blue and do something with it. The frequencies of light are around us the whole time anyway. Starlight, moonlight, sunrise, sunset, as well as the big things. I also work with the galactic realms as well. And it's funny because Ashtar, who's another one of my guides, I don't tap into him as much, I have to be honest, as Metatron and Jesus, but Ashtar is there.
Metatron's the favorite.
Okay. But whenever I do, literally the light in the sky is platinum. It's just this platinum bright light. And because I'm in the UK, it's often behind a cloud. So it's almost like you can feel or sense the energy of light ships, his presence. It's a very different quality of light to the Christ light, which is much more golden and has a different frequency. But all of the frequencies of light are extraordinary, and we need them as well. I really feel we need them. But again, it's about being conscious that they are there to help heal us and awaken us and also aid our ascension process. So I don't know how we got onto light, but I love the energy of light, so we need it. And of course, light is colour as well. So the colours, it all comes back to that really.
Yeah, we're currently seeing some of the most massive solar flares in recorded history.
Yes.
And what I wanted to ask you there as well, like when you were describing the auroras that are happening and you said, ultimately these are colors that you can bring down and do something with it. I would love to explore that a little bit more of how we can utilize these colors. I know that's something very prevalent in your work and your therapy, especially your healing work. What are some explorations that we can do with color to help us in this ascension process?
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, we're asking the question without maybe understanding that we are using color all the time anyway. Every day that you get up, you choose the color that you wear. It's usually totally subconscious. If you look in your wardrobe now, there will either be the rainbow or there'll be the prevalence of just maybe a couple of different tones or shades. The colors that we live with. But equally, as I say, from a colour therapy perspective, yeah, the colours that are out there in nature, because it's not just about what's in the sky, it's about what's in nature. You know, if you imagine now, because I was tuning into the colour green for us all, you know, that we are just walking through this very beautiful emerald green forest with the moss on the floor, the new leaves on the branches, the dew on the leaf. You can just feel that energy, and it's about bringing it in to where your body feels as though it needs it. So it's going to be different for all of us, but right now, for whatever reason, the green wants to go straight to my heart. And okay, green is a colour that's associated with the heart, but it's what I'm sensing is as a darker shade of green. It's like an emerald green. And it's very renewing. It's very reinvigorating. It's an energy of renewal, basically, because the light codes are effectively helping the cells within our body, all aspects of ourself, all of our organs, our mind, everything that makes you, Emilio, and me, Amanda, requires light and colour to help it grow and be. And you know, if you think about if you lived for 10 years just in a darkened room and then you came out of it and you'd not seen any light or had any colour injected, you would be, I wouldn't like to think what we'd be like. We'd be in a right state, basically. So yeah, it's just consciously noticing the colour. And again, going back to Metatron and walking with him, what people often say to me is like, wow, I hadn't realised how blue the sky was. I hadn't realised how lovely, you know, the blossom was this year. It's as though open your eyes, I want to say to all of us, to the colours that are out there. And that includes the whole spectrum. Right now in the UK, it's grey. I look out my window and it's grey. I can see a bit of black, a bit of brown, a bit of white. But that's still beautiful in its own way, you know? So, but yeah, I think with solar flashes and things like that, one thing I did notice recently, which I wondered what you thought as well, is in the UK, we had this massive solar flash a few days ago. And I think there was like a solar weather warning that came out. And I was thinking, right, okay, steady yourself, Amanda, because usually I have a reaction to that. I'll get a headache or I'll feel, you know, I didn't have anything, didn't feel anything. And I read or I watched somebody and they were talking about the fact that those of us that have integrated a lot of these consciously, these solar flashes and the light codes, maybe we just are not being as affected as those that are just waking up to it, if that makes sense. So Metatron's saying it's just that your body is becoming more accustomed to it because you've acknowledged it. And acknowledgement is part of integration.
I just received the word calibration. And it's almost like these, obviously, you know, we're living in a sea of unseen information. We can only perceive 0.001% of material reality, or only material reality, and the rest is these waves of energy fields that we can't even perceive with our five senses. And so the sun inherently is going to have a physiological change on our body. Just go out right now if there's sun outside and you're not in the UK, and receive the sun on your skin. That'll immediately start changing physiologically. You'll start producing more serotonin in your body. You'll feel better, the feel-good hormones. And so what's interesting there is when there's big flashes, it depends. What I'm getting is, depending on where your nervous system is, whether it's in a regulated state or if you're in a dysregulation state in your nervous system,
I agree.
That information that hits the body, because it's hitting us, we just can't see it. It can either bring you back into the original template even more, this new human crystalline template, or kind of shake you up a little bit in order to calibrate even more the body.
Yes. Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. And I would also want to add into that equation the moon. I mean, I'm a bit of a moon child, but you know, the energy of the moon to me is just as important. I'm talking about the light energy. Walking in moonlight, or we've all, you know, gone to bed and you've got the moon coming through the window, and there's just something about that silvery light that is so, it's like a balm to the soul, and to our mind. And again, it's just when we tune into it, we really tune into the different qualities of light. I think we can receive the healing basically that we need, you know? So yeah, get out and have a moon bath. You can't have a sun bath.
What's really interesting is that you're associating 2026 with the color yellow.
Yeah.
We're also going to be coming up on a solar eclipse on the 17th of February, a little after this is released. So I wanted to tie in that together around why you're seeing this year as a yellow color, and how all of these eclipses and solar phenomenon are even tying into that as well.
It's interesting that we've just been talking about the sun, because the reason that I tie 2026 into the color yellow is it ties back to color numerology, and number 1 in color numerology is linked into the sun, which is of course yellow. So that's where it comes from. Interesting, I hadn't realised. So it's a solar eclipse on the 17th of February, which is also the start of the Fire Horse year. So we've got a bit of red as well, probably. But yeah, yellow, I've talked about, the sun, happiness, joy, laughter, all the rest of it. But it's also to do with our ego. It's to do with ego and how we use our power. And I think we're going to get a lesson on all of that this year. It's already started at the collective level, but also at an individual level. How do we use our power? And how do we conserve our energy? Because power and energy to me are sort of interlinked. One of the things that I've been really trying to master the last year is mastering my own energy, knowing when I need to conserve it and say no and put a boundary up, and when I have enough energy to give, you know. And it's taken me decades to get to that point, and I suspect many people are the same, which is that we're in a society where we just keep going. We keep saying yes. But then if you think about why you're doing that, what are you serving your ego, or are you serving your heart? Are you just wanting to people please, or is it actually trying to help you? So back to the colour yellow. Yeah, it's all tied into confidence. And part of confidence is knowing what we need, of course, and standing up for that. And ego, power. So we've got all of these games that are going to be going on through this year. And it's very, very solar plexus related. And I love the fact that we've got that solar eclipse then in February. I think that will be very, very powerful. But again, I've witnessed myself that all of these, what I would call portals, whether it be an eclipse or anything else, where we have the ability to download frequencies of light from whether it's the sun, the moon, or I work with numbers as well. So it could be the 1111 portal, for example. Yes, that is available to us. But isn't it interesting how there seems to be a big portion of the population, or maybe people you live with, where it doesn't even register? So back to my point that we have to be conscious. We have to be conscious. We have to be aware that there is a gift, there is a blessing that wishes to come in. So the gift and the blessing that comes in with yellow is about, as I say, where do we take our power? Where do we give our power away as well? Where do we give our power away? And I know that emotions are very heightened on the world stage at the moment, with people having very different opinions. But I would just sort of say to people, and I say this to myself as well, don't give your power away to others. And by that, I'm talking about energy. You know, when we get in a right tizzy and a right state about, have you heard they've done this now, or they've done that, or have you heard that this has happened? And it's just this huge energy leakage. And then you get to the end of the day and you feel exhausted. And it's because your energy has drained from you. Whereas if we can fill ourselves with colour and light, and embody and basically keep going with our own stuff, and our own life, that really is the answer. So it's just being aware of our energy, aware of our power, and trying to hopefully step into more self-confidence as well through this year as well with that beautiful bright yellow energy. What is it that we would like to be doing with our life that fear has prevented us from doing so far? Because fear is also a yellow energy. So we either go into more fear, or back to what I was talking about at the start, should we be fearful or should we try to be excited? And I know which one I would prefer. So yeah, it's that's just trying to think if there's anything else to come through on the colour yellow. Okay, so one thing I'm hearing is cowardice. Where cowardice versus courage. So to try to be courageous this year, to try to shine, to try to look at where we are underconfident and fearful and what we can do to empower ourselves so that we are less like that. And I'll give you a little tip here, because I'm somebody that genuinely appears more confident than I actually am. So whenever I do interviews like this, I'm always a little bit nervous at the start. And I did that technique, which I think is it EDMSR, or have I got the words round the wrong way? It's that thing where you move your eyes from right to left.
Right.
If you move your eyes from right to left, it helps to balance the hemispheres of the brain, and the fear dissipates. Yeah, try it.
Wow.
That's just one little tool, but there's so many. It could be that you're into tapping, EFT or something. But it is the energy of feel the fear and do it anyway. Don't let 2026 be a year where fear is derailing all of your ambitions and all of your plans and all of your happiness as well. All of your happiness. So it can be a beautiful year. It can be a buoyant year. But we've got to wrestle with our own ego, our own shadow, as we always do, but it's very heightened this year. But it's also a number 1 year, so it's a new beginning. So we can, but we've got to choose that we want to change, that I want to embody a higher frequency, that I do want to go for it.
Yeah, and do it anyway.
And do it anyway, yeah.
I would love to speak into, there are moments in our life where we sort of go through what we could call initiation periods. Many have called them dark nights of the soul. And, for lack of a better word, they're sometimes more difficult to navigate than other more brightened moments in our life. And we were speaking into this a little bit off air around the wisdom that is on the other side of these initiations. And also, if you would like to open with speaking into your personal experiences around what's on the other side of those stickier moments, to at least also, I feel like it's important to attach ourselves to a vision of the future once the storm settles in our life, whether it's health, whether it's a breakup in a relationship, or whether it's all at once, which is also very common. What can you speak into around that?
Yeah, it's interesting. I've just come out of a 3 to 4 year period of intense Pluto transits, and Pluto is the planet of death and rebirth, and it will get you to the other side no matter what. And towards the end of last year, when I was coming towards the end of it all, it got pretty dark, actually. It got, pretty heavy, very, very heavy. As you say, lots of things just building on lots of other things. And because it was coming to the end of this particular dark night of the soul period in my life, not the only one, probably will be others, but, this particular one that had been going on quite a long time. And I really, really wanted to break through to the other side, as you've just said. It's almost as though the lessons had to be learnt. The things had to be looked at. The fears had to be looked at, had to be acknowledged. And there was also a period, Emilio, which was the most disconcerting, which was a period of pretty much feeling nothing, you know? Including actually with regards to spiritual connection, struggling, you know. I knew Metatron was still there and with me, but there is a truth that sometimes our guides can step back when they know we've just got to really get it. You've really got to get it now, Amanda. You know, we've taken you so far, but only you can do this last page, you know, or write those last words, whatever it is. So they step back. And it's a bit like spiraling down into this very deep void-like place where you don't know where it's heading. You don't know if you're going to land or if it goes any further. And it feels like it's going on forever. And when you're in that state, it's very hard to see the horizon. You've got to try to keep your eyes on the horizon. And it's the energy of trust and faith, which of course is a huge part of the spiritual path. It's a bit like I live by the sea. If it's a foggy day, the horizon is still there, even though I can't see it. So it's trusting that you will make it out. You bring your guides in to help you. But as I say, you've got to do it for yourself. But I can't describe to you the relief that happened when I felt it lifting. And, you know, I'm not an astrologer. I'm sure a lot of people that watch you probably are. It was absolutely, for me, tied into the astrology, almost to the day that it was meant to be over. I woke up, and I know it sounds ludicrous. It was like, you know what, I feel a bit different. I feel a bit lighter. I feel a bit this, I feel a bit that, whatever it was. And so I've come into this year thinking, I really want to be happy this year. I really want to go for happiness. But that has to be created. Hence why I talked about I want to go and see Harry Styles. But I'm really just trying to articulate that there's no easy answers when you're in the middle of that void-like experience. It's a case of just hanging on in there. And it can sometimes go on for a long period of time. So you need support around you, unless you're somebody that's pretty, self-contained and don't need lots of other people. And another thing I really learned through it is that I talked about the fact that I feel that shadow period and dark night of the soul, the void, whatever you want to call it, I got to the place where I thought, I need to respect this rather than trying to run away from it and like, when's it going to be over? You know, and I'm sick of these lessons, and I'm sick of this and I'm sick of that. I got to the point where it's like, respect what it is trying to show you about yourself, about the world, about your past, your present, your future, etc. So it was actually the greatest teacher. And again, going back to Archangel Metatron, he works with both the light and the darkness. And so I knew he was there, even in the really difficult times where, you know, which were really heavy and low, to be perfectly honest. So to people that are going through that now, it feels as though it's a necessary transformation, even if it's not shaped by Pluto transits. We all go through these periods. And it is about eventually, sorry about the phone, eventually you take off the old coat, the old skin, and a new you is born. But it's not an easy process. So find what it is that's going to help you through that period. If I'm brutally honest, and I always try to be honest, I also experience the fact that when you're at your lowest, it's often when you're not doing the things that are going to help you the most. It's just one of those weird things that we do to us. It's self-sabotage, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, why are you not doing the things that you know are going to help make you feel a little bit happier, or get out and do a bit of exercise, whatever it is? And I think then that's when deep compassion for yourself has to come in, that you're just doing the best you can on any one day, any 1 week. Nobody else is walking your path, but you will basically get there. And it is part of the awakening process. As you said yourself, the awakening process, it can't be just all love and light. It's also the very difficult, tricky bits. But I truly feel that by having a guide, whoever your guide is, whether it's Metatron, Jesus, whoever, any of the archangels, they help get you through it. They certainly make sure you get out of the damn tunnel.
Yeah.
And I will, I've put it back in the deck actually. I drew a beautiful card. I didn't draw it. It was a card that I've got, which just shows somebody coming out of this dark tunnel into the light. And it was so perfect. I think it's also in my own Metatron deck, actually. And in the Metatron deck, it says, welcome back. Welcome back to the light. Welcome back to, I want to say life. Welcome back to life, you know, rather than running from life. But even when you're running from life, you're learning something, which is actually, eventually, I don't really want to be doing this. I want to be getting back out there, doing whatever I'm meant to be doing. So definitely not judging ourselves, though, you know, with what we're going through.
If we were to look at the void space from a metaphysical point of view, let's say even the void itself can be a dimensional layer overlaying our reality that we're experiencing, where there is less access to light. But you were also telling me how the void carries so much potential for healing as well. Where do we find those potentials of healing when we're in the absence of light for certain moments or periods of our life, or are in the metaphorical void space?
Well, the first thing is that there isn't an absence of light, it is an illusion. Because if we look at it from a colour perspective, the energy of blackness, basically, is actually where all the colours have been absorbed. You just can't see it. So they are still there. But I think I'm on record of saying that there's certain healing that can actually only be done in the darkness. And that's because you have to be in a place where maybe you've been brought to your knees. You've certainly had a ego death. And it's in that place that you learn the most about yourself and you receive the greatest level of healing. But it comes with the energy of complete surrender and maybe acceptance as well, dependent upon obviously your circumstances. But for me, it was surrender and also acceptance of a few things that I find difficult in my life. And yeah, the greatest healing came from that and has always come from the most difficult times. Funnily enough, often, and I'm sure I'm not the only person that says this, often that's when we can, it's weird, it's like when it really is difficult and dark, that's sometimes when you sense spirit the strongest. I remember decades ago, you know, I'm going back to my 20s and, you know, a love affair had broken up and I was absolutely devastated, really, truly devastated. And I remember going to bed and just feeling like that's it. I just, not that I don't want to be here anymore, but I was very, very, very low. And I always remember the presence in the room. It was just extraordinary. Now, whether that was Metatron, whether it was an ancestor, I don't know, but I remember it. I remember it. And much more distinguishable than maybe going to bed in a happy mood, you know, had a good day, you know. Do I always feel the presence in the room then? No, because they know I'm fine, you know. Don't need to pay Amanda a visit, you know, she's all right. So it's an interesting dance, Emilio, because, as I say, there are also periods where I feel that the guides step back, but they are always there. And it's just part of the beautiful tapestry of life. We have to have both the light and the dark, in the same way that a plant requires that. Needs to grow underground, where it's protected to a degree before the green shoot comes out. So coming out of a dark night of the soul experience, the new skin, which is the new you, is maybe quite vulnerable, but I do believe there's a lot of protection around it as well. It's a bit like I don't know, I'm just feeling that now, because I feel as though there's a new version of me online, as it were, but I feel very, very, very protected. But maybe that's also to do with strength that comes from having survived that type of journey. I don't know. But I'm being given the analogy by Metatron of the baby. You know, if you think about rebirth, and we're all rebirthing ourselves through life at various different points, the new us that shows up in the new skin, it's like the new baby, and there's always protection around that. So it's a very beautiful thing if we can start to appreciate the growth and the learning that comes through our most difficult times. But it's not fun when we're going through it, let's be honest. You know, we just want to get the hell out of there as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I think for the soul, it's fun.
It's only in retrospect that things make sense a lot of the time.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think it's the soul that has some fun with it, because there are certain ranges of frequency, like doubt, fear, that you can learn so much from. And the bypassing is, no, I don't want to feel those at all. Like, I just need to stay in love, unity, and joy. But the soul's like, hey, but you went down to earth to experience everything. And when we're in, you know, for example, even health, like we had to put this show like in the back burner because we were both going through health things that, you know, weren't allowing us to be in our full, you know, radiant state. And even that taught me so much. Like, who am I when I lose my voice? Or who am I when I can't go to the gym every day? Who am I when all of these other things that I normally do are being, in a way, put on pause? And giving me a period of just realizing, who are you without this?
Oh, such a good point. And I so agree with that. This thing about who am I, because this is Dark Night of the Soul, who am I without this past identity? Or who am I without the job title? Who am I without whatever it is that you're clinging on to the most? That your soul, actually, your higher self, is saying, please just let it loose, because there's a new version that would like to come online, but you're not allowing any space, any possibility, any opportunity for any new energy to come in. And we cling on and we cling on and we cling on. And so it requires this energy of, whether you call it wake up call, Dark Night of the Soul, to come in, just to say, no, there's a new you that wishes to be birthed, and it can only come in via this particular circumstance or this particular happening. Yeah. And sometimes, God forbid, it's traumatic in people's lives, and I don't make light of that at all. You know, it's the type of energy of, you know, the parent who loses a child to, I don't know, somebody who's a drunk driver who goes on to campaign for new laws. You know, it's that type of thing. And we see it over and over again. These brave people who just have unimaginable trauma and horror in their life, and they manage to turn it around to something where they're helping other people. And I think that is just completely and utterly inspirational. And it wouldn't have happened without that awful thing. So, yeah.
It's alchemy at the end of the day.
It is. And
if we were to scope this out as well, this really powerful teaching that we've been unfolding right now, as you mentioned, there is a new identity for a lot of people that is waiting to come online. And sometimes we just have to let go of certain things that are taking up so much space and rigidness in our being that aren't allowing these new versions of us to come through. But scoping it out, it almost feels like if this is happening on a mass scale, there's actually a new humanity that is also wanting to be birthed. And I wanted to speak into that with you for a moment, as well as how you perceive this new humanity that is coming online, and that many of us are feeling called to let go of certain past structures that held us in a loop in many instances.
Okay, I just feel like Metatron's sort of wanting to come in a little bit and say something here. So let's just, if we may, just allow him that. So the new humanity. So the new humanity. I can't even say it. The new humanity. It's so different from that which has been before, and that which has graced your planet before. It is the end of tribalism, the search and the finding of unity consciousness, of discovering what we have in common rather than what divides us, finding what we like about each other rather than always fixating on what we do not like. It's an expanded consciousness within the whole physical body, centered around the heart and the mind, emanating the most beautiful frequency of light and love and togetherness and community and sharing and belonging. For no one feels as though they are left out and that they do not belong in this new human that wishes to be birthed and is being birthed through many of you right now. You are sowing the seeds for this new humanity to arrive. And yet it feels elusive and it feels as though it will never come. But it is already here. And it shows itself through small acts of kindness, of love, of compassion, of being there for each other, of seeing yourself in another and they you, of wanting to birth a new paradigm that has never been seen before upon your planet, where purity and clarity is key, where you live in harmony with each other, not divided by class, colour, race, religion, or any other structure that so far divides. And again, this can feel elusive and as though it will never happen. But the more that you are able to sit down with somebody who initially you do not feel is your brother or sister, based upon past conditioning and patterning and programming from the old human psyche that still exists within you, the more that you can push past that and sit and be with others who are different from you but yet the same, the more that you help to birth the new, to demonstrate to your children and your children's children the new way, to model that, embody that, carry that through your day-to-day life, through your thinking, through what you project out and what you bring to this world. And you're not creating it alone. There are many in spirit that are helping you. Your ancestral line, your guardians, your guides, and also the great spirit of this earth that is actually ready for this new human to walk upon her, who has already set out a reception party for this new humanity, who is waiting to welcome all of them and you, whilst also being receptive and open and loving to all who are wishing to stay in an older paradigm. But over years, maybe less, more will choose a higher way, a higher frequency, a new way of being. And this is how you will birth the new earth and the new human that will exist upon her. So you are encouraged every day to do what you can within your families, within your communities, within your relationships, to birth this together, to embody it, to be it, to accept the gifts that come in via the light codes, via sound, via geometry, via each other. Birthing more understanding, more tolerance, and more love. The new human is birthed through love, lives in love, and is love. And Metatron is just asking anybody who is tuning into this to just imagine themselves at a higher frequency of being, with your feet still rooted upon the earth, just bringing in and welcoming in a higher template, a higher frequency that your body can handle now and your energy system can handle now. A new you, a new reality, a new frequency, new codes. And you don't need to know how this happens. It happens. You take a breath in and you take a breath out. And you welcome that. And we say thank you. I say thank you.
Thank you. Wow. Very profound. Very profound. It's inspiring. I feel like sometimes all we need is a vision.
Yeah.
And bridging that vision with an elevated emotion. Whether that's inspiration, hope, excitement, gratitude for it already having happened, because this future that Metatron lays out is already happening. It's already unfolding.
Yeah, I think he was also showing me the energy of, obviously we were thinking about or focusing on ourselves, but if you could imagine a few generations hence, if you've got children, for example, imagining their children and just almost like beaming that frequency into the future as well, as well as the past. But I also saw that the future generations to come, going back, it is what you just said, it's going back to our initial conversation, rather than putting fear into the future, trying to bring excitement in terms of what that new child is going to look like in the future and their child, and just seeing it as that beautiful flow and progression of evolution, which starts with us. Absolutely. Nice.
Thank you for tapping in and allowing us to receive those incredible codes that you just brought through from the higher dimensions. We end every episode, Amanda, with a segment called the Final Trio, which are some questions that are personalized to the guest. One thing that I was tuning into was we did this in our first conversation, is maybe pull some cards as well for the moment. But before we do that, I would love to give you the space to let people know where they can connect with you, with your work, everything that you have going on. You actually sent me some of your sprays, your color sprays. I actually use this every time I record a podcast. It's the Higher Self one. So just right before a guest comes in, I spray my higher self, and it just channels my intention into always being in that energy field
Yeah. Oh, I'm
into my
glad you
highest
like it.
alignment.
I'll send you another one, but it's to do with just bringing us into alignment because, yeah, the sprays contain essential oils and scent is a way to help us connect to spirit. If you think about it in churches, it's, the incense, it's very well documented in the use of essential oils to bring us into a heightened state of being. So I'm glad you love them. But yeah.
And they smell good too. It's like a refreshing
yeah.
energy, you know?
Yeah. And they were at Metatron's request because, as I say, they've all got different colours. In fact, the one that I've got sitting here on my desk today is this one, which is magenta. It's magenta bridge, about just connect. Well, actually, it's perfect for today because magenta is a colour which is the bridge to the new. And I use it a lot because also, as mad as it sounds, magenta is said to govern time. I find it helps to slow down time. If I've got a lot to do, and I'll just spray that anyway. But yeah, we make sprays. My website is called Angelic Celestial Colours. I know it's a mouthful, but that's what Metatron told me to call it years ago. Angelic Celestial Colours. I've got a website, sell the sprays, sell the oracle cards. I've done a Christ Consciousness deck and a Metatron deck. I'll pull you a card from the Metatron deck, I think. And my YouTube channel is Amanda Ellis. So, yeah, thank you, Emilio. So shall I pull a card for us then to...
Let's do it. Yes, do it. And everything that you just mentioned is people can find below in the description, in the show notes, with all of the links attached. So thank you so much for the work that you do.
So let's just pull one card then from the Metatron deck for us. And we have got the energy of Earth with the icosahedron. We've also got the fire dragon on the bottom of the deck. So it's two elemental energies. The fire dragon links into our solar plexus. And we are entering the fire horse year. And this is all to do with strength. And this card, which is linked into Earth, says grounding and support. And we've got the little green shoots coming up in the furrowed fields, if that's the right term. But yeah, it's just about bringing down to earth our intentions, grounding them, and making sure that we are grounded as well, in our day-to-day life. So fire and earth, not a bad combination. And I will just say the third card on the bottom of the deck is the moon.
Ooh.
Which says reflection, time out as well, review and reflection. But yeah, there she is, bathing in the moonlight, you see. So it's all good.
Beautiful. All the elements supporting.
Yeah.
I love it. As I was mentioning, these last three questions are personalized to each guest. The first one that I had for you today is, what part of the human experience do you feel that the angels are most in awe of right now?
Well, many, but I think it's because we've been talking about Archangel Metatron this whole time, but he works with Archangel Sandalphon, and I'm feeling Sandalphon's energy, and he is answering the question, and Sandalphon loves the energy of song and music. And we were talking off camera about some of our favourite artists, and I'm wanting to say song and the human voice, and how that can make us happy, and also raise our frequency. I said to you, I'm going to go and see Jesus Christ Superstar in London in June, and it's Sam Ryder who is going to be Jesus, and he's just got this beautiful voice, and I think the angels will be absolutely there with me enjoying the show. So yeah, I want to say music and song and dance as well.
Yeah. Because one thing we don't acknowledge is a lot of these beings that we communicate with are not embodied in body. And so many things they can't experience in the human body that we get to. And so it's just a completely different spectrum.
There are particular sounds that we can only hear on Earth.
Really?
Just from my understanding of channeling over the years, the quality of sound, the quality of colour, everything is different in the other realms. And I say different doesn't mean it's better or worse. It's just different. So there's something about the sound of a cymbal or a drum here on Earth has a certain resonance that maybe it doesn't in other places. So I think they enjoy that, and they also enjoy the sound of our voice because they can also speak through our voice. So, yeah.
Of course. And sing through our voice. I know a lot of angelic singers.
Yeah.
How do we know when an initiation is finally complete? Or an initiation cycle, because there could be multiple ones.
From my experience, and I'm not necessarily talking about what we've been talking about in this show, but just other smaller initiations maybe, or changes, it's usually when you go to do something and you realize you're responding in a different way than you would have done in the past. Yeah. So it could be the person in your life who particularly triggers you or you're challenged by, and you go and see them and they might still be tricky, but the charge is not as strong as it once was around them, or you're able to go into greater compassion or, whatever. But it's when you notice that you are operating differently. And when you do, always give yourself a pat on the back. Thank your higher self for helping you, your guides for helping you. But I do believe we should be acknowledging the upgrades when they happen and the help that we've received to get us to that place as well. So it's when we notice the change.
Right. And then it's an internal experience.
Yeah.
Because Dr. Joe Dispenza says that a memory without an emotional charge is wisdom. So we talked about the wisdom on the other side of an initiation.
Yes.
And you were speaking into sometimes when there is no longer that huge emotional reaction or charge to a situation, a person, a place, or a thing, that we know that we're a little bit wiser than we were before.
And every reduction in that charge is a win.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we only want to measure when it's gone completely. But if it's a very tricky thing that you're being challenged by, every reduction down in the charge around it is a win. Notice it, and then it will grow. It'll become a bit like that. Is it the rolling stone that gathers whatever? Yeah.
And it's fascinating because these are the only few questions that I pre-write before we record. And we actually covered this at length, but I feel like to really integrate and land this concept, what would you say to someone who feels like they're in a tunnel with no light yet?
Take my hand. If not me, replace me with take Jesus's hand, take Metatron's hand. Because there will be somebody in that tunnel with you. And when I say somebody, it doesn't have to be a physical person. It's an energetic. It's energetic. And it could be me in the tunnel because we all astral travel anyway. I've got so many clients who say, oh my God, I had a dream about you last night. We were doing this or whatever. Or, people find me, on my YouTube, and I've had a few people say, my God, I saw you in my dreams about 3 months before I've ever noticed who you ever were. So, remember that as well. We don't give credit, I think, to what is happening in astral a lot of the time when we're light workers. And I'm no more special than anybody else watching this. Other people will be doing this as well, particularly if it's somebody in your own life that you're very worried about, maybe it's a partner or a child. Your higher self may very well be in the tunnel with them at the most critical moments, not all the time. So it'd be take the hand that's offered because there will be help there. And keep going, obviously.
Many of the times we don't even consciously know how much we are helping the soul of another person on the other side and in the unseen, because our souls could be anywhere all at once. Consciousness itself can be anywhere all at once. So really call upon whoever you feel most aligned with and resonant with, that is going to help you see the light, because you are the light. So thank you, Amanda, for let me just start off by saying the timing is always perfect. Thank you so much for honoring your initiation, the period of time that you were going through. And I just want you to know that as a community, we're all here just supporting you and who you are as a person.
Thank you.
You bring so much light to this space and community, and it's an honor to be able to be here and weave together with you. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much for all that you are as well. I've very much enjoyed speaking to you, and you run a tight ship, a good ship here with your show, and well done as well, and to your community. So thank you, Emilio, for all you are too. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Until next time, I know we shouldn't wait another year to do another one of these, but it's coming soon. It's coming soon.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.